That's just what we need. Bear with me 1 second. The music has gone mental. I'm hoping this is going to stop in a second. It has stopped. Don't let me touch the music again. I apologise for that. Now, let me just go back to the very beginning. You may be, if you were here yesterday, you may recall that Peter McKenna said he was going to beat Dan Cullen to the jump today, and he did at where were we? 5:05 a.m. Almost 5 hours before I was due to press the go button. Peter McKenna was in the house. Morning, Peter. I said to him, you beat Dan? And he said, yes, I did. I said I would. And there he was. And then Dan Cullen came back. As I was busy this morning, Peter was probably up all night. He may well have been to achieve that. And there is Dan Cullen saying, good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and plant porn addicts and breakfast showers alike. Breakfast showers. Gary Muirhead is in the house. Who else do we have here? Excuse me. Andy Hare. Morning all. Did you miss me? Andy, I miss you all the time. Miss you all the time. Your presence is always welcome, and your input is always welcome. Yes, we missed you. Glad to have you back. Steve Williamson is in the house. Morning all. I had to go yesterday. Had to go to another site. Guy with no GPS experience. Needed my assistance. Well, I'm glad you got your priorities right. Mark Whiting is here. Good morning, Mark Whiting. I'm going to come back to another one in just a moment. Dan Cullen says, can you change names on the intro video? Probably, assuming we still have the source file. Why would I do that? Are you not on there? Let us know. Chris Ford says, morning, gang. Now, before we get to anything else, and I've not actually seen him in the chat, which is kind of explicable given what I'm just about to show you. According to Gary Muirhead, today is apparently Andy Darvell's birthday. Now, as I say, I've not seen him here. I don't know where Gary's getting his information from, but Gary's dead reliable. So I'm going to say very many happy returns to Andy the Darvell. And let me have some confetti for him. There you are. That's all for Andy Darvell's birthday. And if he's not here, I mean, I'm sure, a company like AR Demolition have probably given him the day off. Maybe not. Now, who do we have here? Somebody has just said hello over on LinkedIn. Who might that be, I wonder? It's coming through here as a LinkedIn user. Could that be Carly Northwood? I can't find Carly over on LinkedIn, but it may well be. If it is Carly, good morning. If it's anyone else, good morning. Yeah, good morning. Jim Turner's here. I hope I didn't miss much yesterday. Was TB testing cows. Some people have all the fun. Dan Cullen says, name is not on the intro, nor is Peter. Is our intro really that old? Is it? Maybe we need an update. I'll have a word with him next door at some point. Now, if you were, apparently, yes, it is Carly Northwood. Morning, Carly. Thank you very much indeed for being here and for adding a spot of glamour to proceedings, as you always do. So, says Steve Williamson, yesterday I found an email from Volvo to visit them on the 30th. Need to check my junk mail. Bloody emails, got it weeks ago, but I can't make it. Oh, man alive. Man alive, you'd have actually been there. Well, I think our paths would have crossed. I think we're there 28, 29. So you might well have been arriving. Oh, that really is a bloody shame. I'm not going to rub it in because it is a damn shame. You'd have had a blast. But the one thing I would say is it's great that Volvo have actually recognised your existence. That's always a step in the right direction, I would say. Now, if you were here on last week, I can't remember which show it was, but you might recall we got into a discussion on the fact that there is very, very little to choose between the real leading brands of excavators. Many of them share the same components. Most dealers understand the needs for parts and service backup. Very little to choose. And it set me thinking, have we reached peak excavator? Have we climbed to the very pinnacle of the Dozer Mountain and can go no further? But my real question is this. When was the last time you saw an item of construction equipment or demolition equipment or an attachment and thought, now, that's new, or hello, I've never seen one of those before? You didn't have to do it in a London accent. But when was the last time you saw a thing and thought, wow, Wow. Yeah, never thought of that. I've been racking my brains, and I honestly can't think of anything entirely new for years. Everything seems to be a variation on an existing theme. Or am I missing something? I'd love to get your thoughts. Steve Williamson says he's gutted. I'm gutted for you, Steve. But the one thing I would say about the fine folks at Volvo, they are helpful. They're very understanding. I'm sure they will fully understand the fact that you missed out this time, and you'll find yourself on the list in the future, which will be fantastic. Let's have a look. Steve says the big reveal of the new Volvo that's happening at the moment. Did we not see this at ConExpo a year ago? The big reveal at ConExpo last time around, I think, wasn't it the electric, the 20-ton electric? But we are on the very verge of the F series. I would suggest. I'm kind of expecting that to be the main purpose for the Volvo days this time around, but I'm not entirely sure. Chris Ford says, hope you go clear. It's still rife around us. Okay. That's going back to the TB testing of tuberculosis, if anybody is wondering. Jim Turner rather says, cheers, Chris Ford. We have everything crossed. Well, as we know, I can do the Peter McKenna fingers. I am crossed for you as well. So let's have a look. Steve Williamson, ConExpo had the reveal of the F-Series 50-tonner. It was covered up before the show opened. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, I think we've known for some time the F-Series, which obviously replaces the E-Series, because that's how these things work. Apparently that is imminent, and it's not just going to be one machine. It's going to be a whole host of them as well. So I think that seems to be the idea. But I'll let you know as soon as I know. Dan Cullen says, all I've seen is new brands or items and attachments, but nothing different. Yep, I'm struggling to remember the last time I saw a thing and thought, yeah, now that is new, or that is clever, or that is something I've never seen before. Can't think of anything. Earl Fallon has just joined us over on Instagram. Morning, Earl. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Let me take that away, because I do think it is time to crack on. Gary Muirhead says, is the JCB visit cancelled? Yeah, they sounded us out about some timings. They asked us about the 13th of June, which I could make, but I don't suppose for one moment I was the only person that they sounded out. And they came back a couple of days later and said, no, unfortunately, we can't make it happen, which is a damn shame, because, any excuse to get up to JCB, although we are featuring JCB on the show a bit later on, actually from our last visit. So we're kind of there. And Carly Northwood has just joined us over on Instagram. Now, out of the LinkedIn shadows now, easier to listen through IG. Yes, it is. It most certainly is. So no JCB, but we're fingers crossed on another couple of trips coming up. And there's something else we're working on in the background, which I'll tell you in the fullness of time, just as soon as we let the ink dry. And before I press the button to make the show start properly, Ken Hatter has just joined us. Morning, Ken. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Now, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Sorry if you find me distracted. I've just had a message come through on LinkedIn that has tickled me no end. You know the worthy advertiser took on a new member of staff on Monday. They've left. Wow. Yeah, breaking news from the worthy advertiser. Yes. Okay. So question of the day. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But it is. What is it? Let me see. Yes, I know what it is. It is Tuesday. I'm sorry. Completely distracted by that news. It is Tuesday, the 21st of May. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the delighted walrus of demolition. In today's show, things go bam in Alabama. See what we did there? They don't come much bigger than the bagger. See what we did there? We're slot dozing with Caterpillar, and we're checking out JCB's first foray into the tilt rotator market. Plus, we are heading back to Intermat 2024 to meet some unusual suspects. But before all that, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine to get through. So, I'll come to that in just a moment, but we're getting some answers through on our question of the day. But we've also had this from Dan Cullen. Sergo Construction went down owing 4.5 million. It always seems to be in the millions, doesn't it? Have you noticed that no company ever seems to get itself in financial trouble, and after about 100,000 thinks, the writing's on the wall, we best pull the plug here? No. I think they chase it downwards. It's like, it seems to be like those gamblers that win and they win and they win, and then they have a big loss, and don't worry, there'll be another win coming along any moment now. And then all of a sudden they find themselves £4.5 million in debt. Sad to see, and obviously, trot out the cliches, but very, very sad for the employees, and also for the company supply chain as well. I hope they all come out of it rather better than perhaps the bosses will. So yes, this is a good point from Dan Cullen. How do these companies go owing millions? How do they get away with it? Yeah, I mean, bearing in mind, and listen, you've been watching this show for long enough. We've reported on plenty of company insolvencies, and 99 times out of 100, the biggest debt that they owe is to the taxman. Can you owe the taxman money? Don't think so. You as a private individual, you owe the taxman £5 and they'll turn up on your doorstep and steal your kidney. Big companies owe them £500,000, £1 million, £2 million. Not a problem. You crack on, sir. Not a problem at all. But we will catch up with you eventually. How does that make any sense? Love to hear from you if you've got any thoughts on that. So, Mystery Machine. We've already played the animation. Now I'm going to show you what it is that you have to work with. There you are. It's a bit of a lawnmower. That's a lie. It is not a lawnmower, obviously. We are looking for, obviously, the make and the model. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to go back to Steve Williamson, who says, last year at ConExpo, we were using the rotating screen with adjustable mesh size, can be changed using the hydraulics through the oil quick. When I saw that, I thought, that is awesome. Yeah, in actual fact, I mean, I think some of the biggest changes and biggest improvements in the industry have been in the attachments field. Bearing in mind Andy Hare is here. Attachments, I think because attachments can be made for relatively small markets. Somebody has a need to take a stone out of a horse's hoof. There's an attachment for that. That seems to be the way it goes. We've already had the guesses starting to come in for our mystery machine. Dan Cullen has gone for a JCB 35Z-1. It is not. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But while you're figuring that out, I do need to very quickly remind you of our question of the day. Yeah, our question of today, the question of the day today, requires you to delve deep into your memory banks. And the question is this, very simply, what was your first pet and what was his or her name? I lived in a flat when I was growing up, so pet options were rather limited, but we had a budgie called Billy for years. And I do mean, I reckon Billy was a good 18 years old when he finally turned up his wings or acquired his wings. I don't know. I don't know how budgies die. We then went through a series of basset hounds when I was a kid as well. We had one, the most unlikely name for a basset hound you've ever heard, Jasmine. Then we had Ben, and then we had Billy, because apparently my family loved the name Billy. But what I need from you is, what was the name of what was your first pet, and what was its name? And I know that we'll come back to all of these at the end, but I know that Ken Hatcher has said that his first pet was a rabbit, but we need a name. We need a name. It's important that we know the name. Jim Turner on our mystery machine He's going for a 2-ton XCMG. It is not. Chris Ford says, did he fall off his perch? I guess he probably did. I wasn't there at the time when I woke up and went to give him his usual drink and talking to. He was there, feet in the air, stiff as a board. Stiff as a board. Sarah Jane Turner is here with Sid. That's a fan. I mean, I'm not a cat fan at all, but Sid the cat. I've already got visions of it being slightly mental. Quite like the idea of that. Steve Williamson, our mystery machine, is going for the SK25S from Cabelco. It's not. Let me give you a little bit more, shall I? There you are. There's a bit of cab there for you to work with. Let us have your thoughts on what you believe that might be. While you're doing that, we're going to go over to start the show proper. So let me take that away. Thought you had a dog as a kid. Yes, I did. I did have a dog as a kid. But as I say, I moved out of London when I was 9 years old, and that's when the dogs arrived. But before that, it was budgies and goldfish. Fergus. I don't know where that's come from. I just dredged that out of the back of my head. My favourite goldfish was called Fergus, for reasons I can't possibly tell you. There's no Irish in my family, but he was called Fergus. Fergus the fish and Billy the budgie. Even doing alliteration back then. Jim Turner is saying he wasn't even speaking to me. He was talking to his other half. Are you speaking to your other half over this show? Could you not just shout out the window or something? Just asking. Chris Field says, good job he wasn't a parrot. You could have a sketch about that. I don't know what you mean. He has ceased to be. He has joined the choir eternal. Ken Hatcher reckons our mystery machine is a JCB Mini. Oh, could be. Dan Cullen also says, is it the JCB 15C-1? It is not. Gary Muirhead is going for the JCB 802.5. It is not. Martin Wilden. I don't think we've seen Martin here before. So let me give Martin his welcome confetti. Thank you for joining us, Martin. Good to have you here. He is suggesting that our mystery machine is, in fact, a Hyundai, or as they prefer it, a Hyundai. No, it's not a Hyundai. Jim Turner is going for a 3-ton JCB. Make a model, please. You've got to make, but I need a model. But you're getting ever closer. Gary Muirhead is going for JCB 802.7 ZTS. It is not one of those. Steve Williamson is going for a Lugong. I'll give you a bit more, and then we'll actually start the show proper. There you are. There's a little bit more for you to be going on with. Now, let me take that away. Pop back over here and press this button. Yeah. Machinery Movers Magazine just joined us. I don't know. I'm guessing they're joining us from Ireland, but good morning to Machinery Movers Magazine. Thank you very much indeed for being here. You're very, very welcome. What do we have here in the chat? Jim Turner, who obviously knows his JCB product range, he is going for the JCB 803 Summit. No. Dan Cullen says the JCB 19C-1. It is not. Steve Williams is going for the 16C. It is not. It's none of those things. Now, I'll come back to that in a moment. It has actually been a few weeks since we last featured a notable bit of explosive demolition. So when I saw there was a new Controlled Demolition Inc., that's CDITU, video available I just had to share it. So this is what happens when things go bam in Alabama. I've got to get this off the hard drive because it's another huge file. Bear with me for 2 seconds while I find it. It is here. Are we back? Are we back? I think we are. Can everybody hear me now? I'm going to try that video again. Let me see if I can fire it up now. My apologies. I've got a full signal. Everything seems to be okay, except I can't play stuff off my hard drive. I don't know why that is, which actually means we're going to have a shorter show because I've got 2 videos to play off the hard drive, which is a damn shame. Jim Turner, thank you very much indeed for the reminder on the ears. Gone again, says Luke Carney. Steve Williamson is reminded me of the mic. Did I not play that video yesterday? I did not. 2 videos to play off. Don't know what's going on. We've hit a bit of a stalemate there. I'm basically going to have to restart the entire system to get that to play. So we're going to have to skip that one for today. And for that, I apologise unreservedly. No idea what's going on there. That was playing absolutely fine earlier on. So while that's going on, let's crack on with a bit of this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
It's really strange. Everything that's actually sat on in my studio, which is already pre-uploaded, seems to be working absolutely fine. Everything else seems to be not working absolutely fine. I've no idea why that is at all. You need a blinking light to say when your mic is off. The bizarre thing is there's a sodding great red light here that says when I'm on or off, but because I'm looking at 2 screens and I'm talking at the same time, I don't always look down. I apologise. Let me go back to our mystery machine, because that bit I can control. That's where we are. I think we've got to there. Let me take that away. We've had some more guesses. Dan Cullen is going for the 19C1E Tech. It is not. He's also gone, where I can find it, he has also gone for the JCB 26C-1 and the 35Z-1 as well. And I know that somebody got actually pretty close. Was it Chris Ford that got close? Steve Williamson went for the 8065. Gary Muirhead went for the 8029. Chris Ford went for the 8014. All very, very close. None of them right. So here's a smidge more. Just a smidge. Alfred Footy is leaving us. Have to go. Dreaded concentration doing this technical work. Really sorry about that. Hope everyone has a great day. Go back safely to their loved ones. Thank you very much indeed for that. Now, let me take that away. I did a daft thing yesterday. I mean, I've done lots of daft things in my life, but I did a particularly daft thing yesterday. After playing a film that did a size comparison of some of the biggest equipment on the planet, I mentioned the Bagger. It's a giant bucket wheel excavator. And I mentioned there was a really good film out there all about it. But rather than you hunting the internet, I thought, well, why don't I just make life a little bit easier and show it to you, which is exactly what I've done. So this is the Bagger.
A giant looms over Western Germany, standing about as tall as London's Big Ben Tower. This hungry titan can chew up hundreds of thousands of tons of earth a day. This colossus isn't out of fantasy or science fiction. It's the Bagger 293. The biggest bucket excavator on the planet.
The Bagger 293 is a bucket wheel excavator, or a BWE. BWEs are some of the largest terrestrial vehicles in the world. Think of them like small cities with buzzsaws attached to them. And the Bagger 293 is the biggest of all of them.
It was entered into the Guinness Book of Records as the largest terrestrial vehicle on the planet.
Produced by German firm Tackraff, this record-holding gargantuan weighs over 14,000 tons. Yet, incredibly, leaves tracks no deeper than a human footprint. Baggers are the master of one skill, mining lignite coal, which they perform like no other.
The Bagger 293 is a beast. This thing can move over 200,000 tons a day of earth. That's 2,500 kilograms of material every second. And so just the vastness and the scale is absolutely incredible.
BWEs are the key to keeping coal plants fed and running. Without them, entire nations would go dark. Lignite coal, also called brown coal, is the type used in many of these plants. And it is often buried under tons and tons of overburden, such as dirt and rocks. So we need extremely large and powerful machines to remove that overburden.
Well, at least that video played. I know this is stating the obvious, but man built that. Some actual human beings devised the world's largest terrestrial vehicle and then actually built it. They actually built that thing. That really is an astonishing feat of engineering. Right, we're going to be up for a spot of dozing in just a moment, but we do need to get back to our mystery machine, and I can tell you, I can't tell you how close people are getting without actually getting the right answer. And there's something else we need to concentrate on in just a moment. Steve Williamson has gone for the JCB 8018. Close, but not quite. Dan Collins has gone for the 8016. So close, but not quite. Chris Ford has gone for the JCB 802 CTS. Close, but not quite. Dan Cullen on the 8008. It is none of those things. I'll come back in a moment. Jim Turner says, Christ, that's some tool. They know how to mine. When they chase a coal seam, they don't bother to stop for villages and obstruct, so they just keep chasing. That's why it's worth having those machines. I wonder how much a Bagger 293 cost. 100 million? 2? A billion? Genuinely no idea, but man alive, what a piece of kit. Now, far more importantly than all of that, a certain birthday boy has just joined us on the show, Mr. Darvell, who, I don't know how this is actually humanly possible. Morning, he says. How's everyone doing today? Today I turn 40. I think you need to check your birth certificate, Andy, because you look about 17. I mean that in the politest possible way. 40 years old is a big deal. Now, we have already played some birthday confetti for our friend Mr. Darvell, but he's here now. So let's have some more. Many, many happy returns for the day. Now, I was about to try and play the sound effect for applause. I can't touch audio for today. It's just not going to happen. Peter McKenna, who apparently checked in at 5:05 this morning to beat Dan Cullen and then went home again. But he's back. Morning, Peter. Steve Williamson is going for the JCB 803 for our mystery machine, which looks like that. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen is saying happy birthday to the marvelous Andy Darvell. Mick Norton is saying, Jim, somewhere in my archive, I have an image of one of those beasts which inadvertently picked up a large dozer in one of the rotating buckets. It did. I've seen the same photograph, and I'm pretty damn sure that it was a D8. Literally scooped up a D8 without batting an eyelid. There was a picture kicking about on the interwebs of a D8 in the bucket of a bucket wheel excavator. Yes, precisely that. Andy Darvell is saying, thank you very much, everyone. Dan Cullen saying, what about your sound effects? The sound effects play through the system. And shall I risk it? Shall I? Andy, if this goes wrong, I won't hold you responsible, but this is for you, and fingers crossed. Well, apparently those sound effects do work. I don't know. Dan Cullen says that D8 looks like a toy. Yes, it does. I've seen that picture. Great picture. It really shows the size of the buckets. Unbelievable. Peter McKenna is saying happy birthday to Andy. He's just had his applause. We still don't have a correct answer on our mystery machine, but somebody is ridiculously close. Chris Ford is going for the 8050 CTS. It's not. Steve Williamson, 8025. Just a smidge too big. And there's Jim Turner wishing Andy a very, very happy birthday, as do we all. So let me take that away because we're going to be dozing in just a second. And I don't mean sleeping, although feel free if that's the way, if that's how you're feeling. We'll be back right after this. A dozer. A caterpillar dozer, in fact. A caterpillar dozer doing dozer things. What's not to love?
Hi, I'm Jeff Piro, Application Specialist for Cat Command.
And I'm Carter Gibbons, Product Demonstrator Instructor for Caterpillar.
So what we're going to be showing today is a slot dozing application. So again, Carter's back in the command station using screen mirroring. So we're going to talk about the different phases. So right now, Carter's into the cut. So he's a well-educated operator. He knows as many times as you can, use the downhill, use the momentum of the machine and the weight of the machine to make the initial cut. So on his load, he's going downhill. He has the pitch roll monitor on here on the screen, both on the screen mirroring and also with the vision system. So it lets him know when he's at that 15, maybe 20%, wherever he's got to be at. It helps him validate what he's seeing on the screen. So as he's going through the carry stage, his blade is loaded. He's got the work monitor on here also, but he also has auto carry engaged. So at that point, it's taking his track speed and it's taking his GPS speed, and that change in speed is telling the implement ECM whether to raise or lower the blade. To the machine, that's nice because we're not slipping the tracks and wearing them prematurely. For Carter sitting in the station, he's not having to fight that joystick. So again, it's that less fatigue. You notice there's no vibration. He's just sitting here nice and relaxed making these cuts. At the same time, he's being very productive. He's moving full blades full worth of material. He's protecting the machine and he's protecting himself. So again, all these features that are found in the machine are also found here. You notice we also have the GPS screen going too. So we could use that as grade protect. Maybe there's a certain part of this cut that he doesn't have to go past, so that will help protect it. So that's a quick overview of doing slot dozing using the command station. To learn more about Cat Command or any of our other technology offerings, contact your local cat dealer.
Used to be an advert. Was it Zanussi back in the day? What they used to refer to the appliance of science? That's that right there. I have the same feeling watching that as I do when I'm sat by a river. Just give me a cup of tea and a sandwich and I could happily watch that for hours. Caterpillar, I tip my hat in your general direction. Fantastic stuff. Mystery Machine goes on. I think we left it here with an 8025. It is not. Steve has gone for the 8020. Still a smidge too big. Mick Norton, meanwhile, says, I remember some 20 years ago, whilst working on an open car site in South Wales, after a night shift, they realised the fleet of 120 dump trucks had inadvertently buried a Cat D9G under a huge stockpile. Wow. It takes a lot. It really does take a lot to bury what was it? A D9. A D9's a big old lump. It really does take an awful lot to bury one of those, but well done. Steve Williamson says, Cat getting more than it says on the brochure. Dead right. Dan Cullen is going back to work. Have a good day, Dan. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Let me show you a bit more of our mystery machine. I think we all know the path that we're on. It's just that somebody needs to come up with precisely the right model number. We'll come back to that in just a moment. Now, we do have 2 films, but I've got a horrible feeling that only one of them is going to play, and it's the next one. So let me hit this first, and then I'll show you exactly what all that's
Since
about.
the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Steve Williamson has gone for the JCB 8016. That far away. Just that far away. And Andy Darvell, on his birthday, is back to work. Be safe and happy. Have a fantastic birthday, Andy. Thank you very much indeed for checking in on your birthday. Peter McKenna is going for the JCB 8014. It's the one in between. We'll come back to that in just a moment. Now, I've got to be honest. In actual fact, I can tell you, I can put you out of your misery. Garvin over on Instagram has just got the right answer. Our mystery machine today is a JCB 8015. And just to prove it to you, I can show it to you. Well done, Garvin. There you are, JCB 8015. Was that JCB's first mini excavator? There's something in the back of my head that's saying that was their first mini excavator. Or their first in-house built mini excavator. I may be making that up. I don't know, but there's something in the back of my head saying that. Mick Norton says, slot dosing has always been a definitive aid to output, and operators do struggle with the concept. If there's technology that will lessen the undercarriage wear and tear, that for the better provided output, not affected. Yes, absolutely. Peter McKenna, you were all very close. Yeah, I think we had an 8014 and we had an 8016, but it was, in fact, the 8015, as our friend Galvin spotted so well. Just before we get to the next film, just want to say a very quick shout out to Al Grierson. We filmed a thing over in Intermat, and we were missing a bit of footage. So dropped a line to Al last night. He came to the rescue, so thank you for that, Al. Steve Williamson says JCB 19C was the first. Yeah, mate. Listen. I actually went to see the first JCB when they launched it, and they launched it not at the world headquarters. They launched it just down the road. I'm trying to remember the name, but mini excavators back in the day were that kind of smaller deal that they didn't even bother with the launch. And we did them, I think, one-on-one. We did them one-on-one. We were invited as members of the press to, wish I could remember where it was held, but it was a little factory. And I went up, and I think Nick Johnson from Plant Hire Executive went up there, and we basically, rather than going to a mass thing, we saw it. And I do remember one of the things that really sticks in my memory was the fact that they had the battery for the machine on kind of a slide out arrangement. They were talking about maintenance. Obviously, mini excavators are quite cramped. They said, if you need to access the battery, we thought of that. And you pulled a handle and out popped the entire battery assembly. Revolutionary at the time. Not such a big deal now, but it was quite the deal at the time. Steve Williamson has said JCB 19C was the first, and then he says, actually, could be wrong. I can't remember. I need to do a bit of digging. I probably should have done the digging before I actually played it. Now, speaking of all things JCB, the film I'm about to show you, kind of got lost in the mire for a while. Our recent trip to, up to the JCB World Headquarters was so packed with new machines that some things got a bit lost. And in truth, I was holding this back a bit because I knew that when it comes to tilt rotators, we've got some very strong brand loyalties among our audience, and I was keen for this one to get a fair hearing, as it were. So this, at long last, is our film on the JCB Raptor.
My name is Ollie Sands. I'm a product specialist for HydroDig. We're calling it the JCB Raptor. It's a brand new, bespoke-made JCB tilt rotator made by our very own JCB Attachments design and development team. Since its launch in 2016, so 8 years ago now, we've seen up to probably 70% globally of our customer base are fitting aftermarket tilt rotators. The Hydrodig's already quite a advanced solution for customers, and then to take it out one step further, they're fitting tilt rotators to absolutely maximise their productivity. When you're in very tight situations, maybe in a single carriageway, working on the road, you may not have the ability to use that manoeuvrability. So we think customers fit tilt rotators for exactly that purpose. You can get into very, very tight spaces. The Hydrodig also comes standard with a tab boom, so even more mobility and manoeuvrability in very tight spaces. Really the ultimate operators, the people that really are using the Hydrodig for its intended purpose, are one machine fleet. The people that are wanting to get the absolute maximum in terms of productivity and efficiency for their business.
Yeah, hats off to young Ollie Sands for agreeing to do that interview. That was actually his first time on camera. Already an expert, which is kind of what you come to expect from JCB. We're going to go back to JCB. According to Peter McKenna, who has done a bit of a search, JCB's first mini excavator, an 801 model weighing in at 1.4 tons, rolled off the production line in 1989, which does mean I was still at Contract Journal or Plant Manager's Journal at that point, because I left a year after that. And apparently they made over 450 machines. As I say, it was quite a small-scale operation back then. Dan Cullen says, this JCB I'm on will not work until you have the seatbelt in. Great job, as it should be. Yeah, absolutely as it should be. Somebody called Rob Green has just joined us over on Instagram. It's not the former West Ham goalkeeper, is it? Love to think it was. Morning, Rob Green 501. Thank you for joining us. Oh, did you used to play for West Ham? Love to think you did. Listen, who did we have here before? William Sitwell, the food critic. Lord alone knows what he was doing here. Right, okay. Well, I am going to go through the rigmarole of playing the Intermat intro in just a moment, because I'm going to try and play the film. My guess is it's going to fail, but I'm going to try it anyway. So. I'm delaying the inevitable failure, but I'm going to go back to Dan Cullen, who's just said his JCB comes up on their telematics as well. If your seatbelt is not plugged in, as it should, and if that information is then used to improve training and what have you, I think that's an absolutely dandy idea. Mostly Diggers, Garvin says, any salesperson selling a Hydrodig should be able to upsell to the Raptor edition for a good few buyers. That was my feeling. That was very much, and we did discuss that. Obviously, there are tilt rotators aplenty out there. And I know a good many people on this show have their particular preferences, steel wrist and the Knox and Uncle Tom Cobley and all. But bearing in mind, we've got JCB, obviously got a worldwide dealer network, and they've got salesmen going out. And if somebody just got, their first time into a Hydrodig, would you like a tilt rotator to go with that? Yes, please. Here's the Raptor. Makes perfect sense. And I do think, is the Raptor as good as the latest generation steel wrist? I don't believe personally that it is. Will they sell some? You're damn right they will, and for precisely that reason. So thank you for that, Garvin. Now, international exhibitions like Bauma, Conexpo and Intermat are great for catching up with old friends and acquaintances, many of which you haven't seen for a year or more. But they're also pretty damn good at introducing you to new people and forging new friendships. So I'm going to try, and I'm praying as I'm doing this, I'm going to try and play you a film of some less usual suspects that we encountered during Intermat 2024. Kind of already know this is going to go tits up, but I'm going to go for it anyway. Let's have a look. Should be here. Keep your fingers crossed, people.
Intermat 2024 in Paris. Obviously, the usual suspects are here: Caterpillar, Komatsu, Liebherr, Volvo. But there's some surprise packages as well. We're going to take a look around some of the less known names, including this one.
Yeah. Bear with me. I'll try that one again tomorrow. I'm going to restart the system in just a moment. I'm not going to rely on the music anymore. We've got a couple of films for you tomorrow. You already know what they are. We've got a CDI blast, and we've got some unusual suspects from Intermat. I'm halfway to producing tomorrow's show, which hopefully will play a little more smoothly. So on that basis, that just about wraps up today's the main part of today's show. Anyway, I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you were all saying today. Let's talk about pets. Let's talk about the last time you saw a machine or an attachment, the likes of which you've never seen before. That's the idea. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, please stick around, because I will be back with the Craic immediately after this. Yeah, I'm going to do this without music in the background. I said, bear with me. Peter McKenna, quick as a flash. Roar, roar, roar. That's my best bear impression. Impressive. Probably better in person, would be my guess. Feels weird to be doing this without music, but I daren't risk it. Let's have a look. First here actually was Peter McKenna at 5:05 this morning, but that didn't really count because he then came back again. Gary Muirhead was actually the first to respond once the show had started. That was precisely 10 o'clock. Morning, Gary. Gary sent me another bunch of very, very good and brand spanking new questions of the day for tomorrow and beyond, so stick around for that. Dan Cullen, let me check with the master of all things video, Fred next door, and see if I can get a few new names on the intro. Maybe time to update it a little bit anyway, but I'll have a word, see what I can do. Mark Whiting's here as well. Steve Williamson, morning. Had to go yesterday, had to go to another site, guy with no GPS experience, needed my assistance. Steve Williamson, he's a lot like the Thunderbirds. He's an international rescue, just troubleshoots his way around Bonnie, Scotland. And there is Gary Muirhead rather, saying good morning and happy birthday to Andy Darvell, who has now left us. But Andy Darvell is 40 years young. Can you believe it? Looks like a mere boy. Chris Ford is here. Jim Turner is here as well. Somebody else was here as well. Andy Hare was here a moment ago, and I've completely lost his. Can't see him for looking now. That's very weird. I appear to have lost that when I restarted. Jim Turner, I hope I didn't miss much yesterday, was TB testing cows. Well, obviously, priorities. Yesterday's show was all right, usual old nonsense and stuff. But yeah, go watch it on replay when you get a moment. I'm absolutely gutted for Steve Williamson over this one. So yesterday I found an email from Volvo to visit them on the 30th. Need to check my junk mail. Bloody emails. Got it weeks ago. Can't make it. That is a pisser. It really is. I can't tell you. I mean, I've been, and I'm so looking forward to getting back up to Eskilstuna. You would have had an absolutely great time. And I'm not saying that to take the mick. I'm saying that genuinely. So do take, everybody, learn from that. Take a very close look at your junk email. Make sure you add them to your approved senders list and stuff like that. And there is Steve, gutted. The big reveal of the new Volvo that's happening at the moment. Did we not see this at ConExpo a year ago? Yeah, they listen. I think the F-Series has been the worst kept secret in the world. I think we all know that it's coming. I think we've got a pretty good idea of some of the things that will be on it, but we just need to see it in the flesh, which is the idea, I think. Is the JCB... Is the JCB visit cancelled? Yes, it was. Well, except cancelled, it's never really on. They were sounding us out about dates, and they asked about our availability on the 13th. But my guess is they went out to a bunch of a bunch of key people and me and sounded them out, and they couldn't make it work. And unfortunately, when you look at what we've got on at the moment, we've got the thing with Volvo coming up, Hillhead coming up, other people have got bits and pieces to do. So I'm not overly surprised they couldn't make it happen. I did go back to them and said, if you want to do something just with us in the run up to Hillhead, focusing on your quarry products, we'd be more than happy to do that. Haven't heard back from them yet, so I'll keep you posted on that. Ken Hatcher says, good morning. Steve Williamson says, last year at ConExpo was using, yes, this goes back to the point I was making at the very top of the show. When was the last time that you saw a product, be it a new machine or a new attachment, and thought, wow, bloody hell, that's smart? Steve Williamson says, last year at ConExpo was using the rotating screen with adjustable mesh size that can be changed using the hydraulics through the oil quick. When I saw that, I thought it was awesome. I agree. And those sort of products are very, very popular on our Instagram and TikTok. I don't do TikTok, but Fred certainly does. Very, very popular over there, but not particularly new. I know the ability to adjust the settings from within the cab is a nice addition, but it's not that new, is it? I mean, I've been filming screening buckets for, 10, 15 years, possibly more than that. As I say, the ability to adjust the mesh size, awesome, fantastic, nice addition, but still just a variation on a thing. The question of the day, which was one of mine for today, what was your first pet and what was her name? Mine, Budgie, called Billy, and a goldfish called Fergus. Why do I remember those things? A goldfish. We probably only had it for about 6 months before it popped its clogs, and I still remember it. Ken Hatcher had a rabbit. We don't know what it was called, at least we don't yet. Steve Williamson said, a Cocker Spaniel called Freddie. That's current, isn't it? Isn't that current, or do you just only have Cocker Spaniels and call them all Freddie? I think that's a current one. Gary Muirhead, Jack Russell, and he was called Max. Jack Russell. As my son Fred once described Jack Russell, the wasp of the dog world. Constantly angry, scary. Yes. Lou Carney says her first pet was a massive ginger tomcat called Simon. That seems contradictory somehow. A massive ginger tomcat. You'd expect it to be called something like Tyson or Hulk. No, he was called Simon. Dan Cullen, good question. We were talking about Sergo Construction going under to the tune of 4.5 million. How do they get that far? How do they get that far? How do the banks allow them to get that far into the brown and sticky stuff? How does the taxman stand idly by while they're racking up debt upon debt upon debt? Don't know. Really don't know. And Gary Muirhead rightly says, and this is a conversation we have all the live long day, it's the poor subcontractor and the one-man band who will suffer. Yep, chances are, I mean, I haven't followed the details, but the chances are that the team behind Sergo Construction will be back at some point in a different guise, and they will, just heard a weird noise, they will carry on regardless, and poor old subcontractors and the employees will be left out in the cold. Carly Northwood said her first pet was a hamster called Joey. Little Git bit my finger. Well, that's hamsters for you, isn't it? You feed them, you water them, you buy them a little wheel to keep them slim because, it is a hamster gym, isn't it? And yes, they turn around and bite you. Jim Turner says, question of the day, heavy set black lab called Bob. I kind of need Rowan Atkinson to turn up and say Bob whenever we need that, but yes. Lots and lots of guesses on our mystery machine, which turned out to be the 8015. Steve Williamson says, I've seen lots of companies up here. Huge contractors go bust 4 times, always come back a few months later with a different name. Why are they allowed? Yeah, why are they allowed? And imagine, and bearing in mind, I realise we have national companies and companies that work further afield. But most of the time, if a company goes pop in Kent, for example, I'm just using that as an example, they go pop in Kent. When they come back, chances are they'll come back in Kent. So all of their regular suppliers, all of their subcontractors, all of their supply chain, everybody that's ever dealt with them, will see them coming back, and they will be sat there looking at a balance sheet that he's down 5, 10, 15, £100,000 because that company went bust. And here they are with their newly branded company, Company X 2024, and they're back as if nothing happened. That must smart like a mother. It really must. I don't know how they get away with it. Again, lots and lots of answers on that. Sarah Jane Turner. Sid the cat. That's a proper name for a cat. None of your Simons. Simon? What were you thinking? Loads and loads of guesses on today's machine. I actually thought people would get that rather more quickly, but there you are. Chris Ford says, first pet was a dog called Penny, a cross between a collie and a dachshund. Often wondered how the dachshund the dachshund was the male half, was it? Ladders were involved. Ladders or boxes, I would suggest. Yes. You know what they say about those sort of things, though? Where there's a will, there's a way. I don't like to think of the mechanics of it, but where there's a will, there's a way. We had... Tell you a quick story. So I'm sure I've mentioned before, I've got a daughter, then we've got a set of twins, and then we've got Fred. So when my wife was expecting the twins, we had 2 boxer dogs. We had Satchmo, who I bought for my wife's 21st birthday, and we had Ella, who was a girl. So we had a boy and a girl. And the vet's advice was, never mind the fact that they are, possibly related, that won't stand in their way. When she comes into season, you need to separate them. So I spoke to my mate Bruce, sadly no longer with us, and Bruce was big on overkill. As a local builder, he was big on overkill. So we had a big garden with a big concrete prefab garage in it. So while she was in season, the plan was we will separate them. He separated them with a 6-foot wrought iron fence. I'm talking Fort Knox here. I got a phone call one afternoon at work from my wife, and there was this, I can only describe it as screaming in the background. And I said, what on earth is going on? And my wife, who has a turn of phrase every once in a while, says he is towing her like she's a hairy caravan. The pair of them had got together in the biblical sense, and then at some point he had managed to step over his own tackle, shall we call it, and they were now back to back, and he was towing her like a hairy caravan. Now, I mentioned the fact that we had twins for very good reason. My wife had twins. We had twins, but she delivered them. We had twins. 10 days later, we had 10 boxer dog puppies kicking around the house. That was a fun time, and no mistake. More guesses on the mystery machine, lots and lots. See, I think I may have spotted something here. I've been going for really obscure machines. Maybe I should just be going for something so obvious that you might think he'd never try and get that past us. Maybe that's the way. Yeah, apologies for the gremlins today. We will fix it. We will return all guns blazing again. Lots and lots. Steve Williamson, you need a blinking light to say when your mic's off. Can I show you? I don't know if you can see that. Let me get rid of that. No, you can't see it. There is a big red light on the mic. I can't see it when I'm talking. Let's have a look who we got here. Peter McKenna says, in my life, I have had rats, snakes, spiders, lizards, dogs, and fish. Also had a shared horse. A shared horse. Okay. Mick Norton says, question of the day, a cat called John Joe, named after a Grand National winner. Was that John Joe, was that the jockey? Was there a John Joe O'Neill? Was that John Joe O'Neill? Apparently, I've not caught Dan Cullen's question of the day. I'll work my way back up. Peter McKenna says, cat's called Dave. Originally thought it was a female. Yes, a female cat called Dave. Until it was falling around one night, I found a cyst. Turned out it was a male, and the cyst was a testicle. Ah, yes. We've all been there, haven't we? Maybe not. Dan Cullen says, from what I heard, Squib may be making a comeback. Well, I think half of Squib are already back. But there is an ongoing investigation, I learned yesterday. An ongoing investigation because apparently they applied for a CVA. They were planning a CVA back in October of last year, which didn't come to pass. And there is quite some difference between the value that they placed on their assets at that time and the value that was actually realised when the whole thing it's going on. Let's say. Sound like you farted, Mark. That's what that strange really was, wasn't it? It wasn't. No, I think I heard my wife laugh. It's an unfamiliar sound. That's not true at all. I've noticed that certain displays at Scott Plant, after watching videos on YouTube, half the reps didn't have a clue what they were talking about and were shown up by operators when talking about their own products. Yeah, it goes back to a thing that we've spoken about, or I've spoken about in the past. Used to be the case where a lot of my work alongside equipment salesman was at Leverton, the old Caterpillar dealer for the south of England, and the guys there were that knowledgeable that they didn't just sell equipment, they were actually consulted. You know, if somebody was opening up a new quarry or they got planning permission to extend a quarry or something like that, they would call in the Leverton or the Caterpillar rep and say, okay, this is the level of productivity or production that we need to achieve. What would you advise? And it would be, we'll have one of those excavators, 4 of those ADTs, 3 pass loads, and this will be the bucket capacity. They were very, very knowledgeable. Not so much anymore. And I've thrown this question out before. When was the last time in the plant world, or anywhere else for that matter, when was the last time you were sold something? I know we all buy things, and maybe that's the change because we have things like the internet and Google, so we can do our homework before we actually go out to try and find the machine or the TV or the mobile phone that we all want. But when was the last time you were actually sold a thing? I genuinely can't remember. Going back to the chat, Steve Williamson, Freddie, the Cocker Spaniel, is the only pet he's ever had. Damn fine one he looks as well. Questionable name. Just saying. Northern Track. I appear to be logged into the company account now. That's okay, Andy. We know exactly who you are. Now, I need to go and find Dan Cullen's question of the day answer because I don't want him to think I'm ignoring him. I can't see it here anywhere. There we are. Dan Cullen says, my first pets, 2 Great Danes, one named Scooby, and Scooby, or is that Scooby? Scooby, maybe, and a female was called Scooter, and he also had 5 collies as well. Big house, was it? Or were you on a farm? That's probably the question. Peter McKenna is off. Sorry, folks, have to go. Speak to you later. Have a great day. We will certainly try. Dan Cullen says, question today, I had 2 pet cows. Used to lay on them at midday. The 2 always came together and sat down, and I'd be in between them. What a fantastic way to spend your afternoon. I do like cows. I'm going to be honest. I'd love a pig. Do like a pig. Love goats. Love cows. Calves. Calves are particularly handsome beasts. The perfect salesman is a former machine operator. It's a good thought. And one was Billy and the other was Georgina. Well, I think we're still talking cows there. Question of the day, Mick Norton says, in 1966, one of my mates brought back an orangutan from Malaya and kept it as a pet in the shower room of our living accommodation in Singapore. He would bring it to the naffy every night and get it pissed. Shit everywhere. Dear. Fantastic. But I mean, obviously 1966 post-war, so I guess there wasn't much in the way of conflict going on. apart from with the orangutan. I watched a film last night, if anybody's interested, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Henry Cavill and Alan Richardson and a bunch of other people. And it's funny. It's a good old fashioned romp of a film. And then you get to the end and realise, actually, it was based on a true story. The daring do of certain people in the British Army back in the day. Yeah, go give it a watch. The guy, Alan Richardson, the guy that plays Jack Reacher on the TV show now, he's absolutely fantastic in it. He really is. Violent as all hell. Wants a heart as a souvenir. I won't bore you with any further details, but it's very, very good. Go enjoy yourselves. Right, people, I need to go and whack my server with a very big stick because it's let me down quite badly today. I'm going to be back here tomorrow at 10 a.m., hopefully with the gremlins well and truly squished. Until then, everybody, have a fantastic day. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Apologies once again for the catastrophes. Catastrophes, plural. Beyond my control, I'm afraid, but I apologise nonetheless. Everybody, go and have a fantastic day. I'll be back tomorrow with some questions of the day from Gary Muirhead, plus 2 of the films that we couldn't play today. We'll try again tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Till then, everybody, have a great day. All the best.